How we all loved the boats, large and small. Of course, to we riverbank dwellers they were our lifeline and our chief link with the outside world. When we first went to live at Tuckarimba, there were no telephones, but the farmers had their own means of communication with each other. You wrote your letter, put it in an envelope and tied it firmly to a short, stout stick, gave it to the deckhands on the riverboats, and when they came close to the place where the letter was to be delivered, the captain would blow the whistle to let the folk know that they had something for them, and they would come out and take delivery of the message. We were friendly with Dit and Effie Macaulay and kept in touch with them by a constant exchange of magazines and fruit and veggies. The boat people were very good-natured, no thought of such things as freight. They had to stop at all wharves, and to them it was no trouble to put these gifts off with the cream cans or whatever else they had to deliver. In earlier days, Sheridan's had a store boat, a real little general store. You could not only buy your groceries, but drapery or school books. Wednesday was store boat day, and quite an event of the week. Some of the shop girls from Korakai used to come out to hunts on Wednesday afternoons, their half holiday. Sometimes they would walk out on the other side of the river and would then be rowed over to our place, or sometimes they would come out on the midday boat. Rowing about on the river, getting their photos taken, afternoon tea, and they would get a ride home at dusk on the store boat as she came along from her run up the river. A very pleasant way of spending their Wednesday half holiday. The two big firms in Lismore, the new firm, Nesbitt's, and the Red Flag store Robinsons, who were over the other side of the street, just about where the Vogue Theatre was afterwards built, sometimes used to run a free trip to Lismore on the boats if you bought a pound's worth of goods. A great day out. I seem to remember that they sometimes recklessly threw in a free lunch to go with it, which consisted of a meat pie and a cup of tea. Great fun. Afterwards, Davis Brothers and Burgess bought out the Nesbitt store and, of course, carried on with the free trips. Later, Robertson's shop was burnt down and they took over the Davis Brothers and Burgess shop and became known to us all as AGR's Corner. I think the red flag is still embedded in the footpath over where the Vogue Theatre stood in later years. We had various small craft too. The Vesta was a noisy old lady that travelled along with a loud puck, puck, puck. Then there was the Magnet, the Mabel, and the Florrie, to name some of them. Then there was a barge like old tub called the Pasha, a paddle wheel at the stern, used to carry timber. In our early days at Tuckarimba, they were still growing sugarcane on the North Arm, and there were little boats that towed the cane barges up to the various farms to collect the cane. We grew cane for a year or so, but afterwards grew millet instead. I don't remember much about the cane harvesting, but one thing I do remember very clearly. A group of local men formed the gang to cut the cane. Cowper Sutton was the ganger, and he sacked Paddy Ma for swearing. Other days, other ways. The ocean-going boats were of great interest too, especially when they got stuck in the mud on Millgate's Corner, which happened fairly frequently. One day we had two boats stuck there at the same time. Very interesting to the onlooker. The Kilterbanks was stuck in the corner in the usual place, and another smaller boat came along. They both belonged to a Brisbane company, Burke's Line, I think. The second boat was so anxious not to collide with the Kilterbank, she veered too far to the other side and got stuck on the other side of the river. George, my brother, got a photo of that, you may be sure. When the big boats came by at night, they were a pretty sight, all well lit up, and a powerful searchlight at the top of the front mast. Very pretty indeed. In the daytime, the captain would often blow the whistle when entreated to by the children on the bank. It was a great thrill for them. After the store boat went off the run, we depended entirely on the river boats. They brought groceries, meat, butter and mail. Produce too. Anything we got from Sydney, such as Anthony Horden's big parcel, which came twice a year, was offloaded in Korakai from the big boat to the Irvington to be delivered at our own wharf. Anthony Horden's always had a half-yearly sale, and Mother was always a great supporter of Anthony Horden's and sent her half-yearly order most regularly. The arrival of Horden's big parcel was always an event. Mother was only interested in Manchester goods and household stuff, but we would slip in our order too for various bits and pieces. I bought a good many books at that half-yearly sale. Fenwicks ran a boat from Lismore to Ballina every day, and another from Ballina to Lismore. Good, solid boats, the Captain Tom Fenwick, the Ballina, and occasionally the Sarah Hickson, and once in a while an old lady called the Victoria. Good, reliable boats, but not pretty and graceful like the Davis Brothers and Burgess line. Our first favourite was the Britannia, followed by the Araucaria and the Australasia.